Hi again, and welcome to another chapter. Now, if you're watching me right now, then I will say to you, welcome to the world of heat energy. So as usual, we have a lot of interesting and educational quests all lined up for you in this chapter. Now, let's start with this very interesting quest called the kinetic molecular theory. Now, but before we go into this theory, have you ever wondered why an element or even a substance like water can exist as a solid in the form of ice, as a liquid in the form of water that we are all used to, and also as a gas in the form of what? Steam. Or why my margarine or even my butter melts when it is brought very close to a source of heat. So, to actually understand these and other effects of heat on substances, we have to look at the substance not as a whole, but from the very tiny particles that actually make up this substance. Now, substances are actually made up of very tiny particles called molecules. Now, these molecules can combine to form large amount of a substance. Let's take water for instance. Now, an atom of oxygen combines with two atoms of hydrogen to form what we call a water molecule. Now, this molecule also combines with many other water molecules to become a quantity of water as we know it. So, we can actually define a molecule as the simplest form of a substance that can exist and still retain all the properties of the substance. So, the kinetic molecular theory of matter actually helps us to understand these molecules, how they interact with one another, how they combine to form substances, and also how they react or even respond to heat, and so on. Now, to help us study these molecules, first, we have to actually understand how they look like. Now, to help us understand these assumptions, we call these assumptions what? The kinetic molecular theory. Now, let us try to picture what a molecule actually looks like. Now, we try to picture a molecule like a round, hard ball, and that this molecule is actually free to move in a straight line. Also, now if this molecule is placed in a container with other molecules, either of the same element or even of different elements, that these molecules will keep moving and will be colliding with each other and even with the walls of the container in which we actually put them in. Also, when these molecules collide with the wall or even with each other, they don't lose any of their kinetic energy. Now, there is also a force of attraction between them and even with the walls of the container in which they are enclosed. And that finally, the average kinetic energy of the molecules actually depend on the temperature of the substance. Now, these assumptions, which we have just used to describe the behavior and even the movement of molecules, is what is known as the kinetic molecular theory. So, let's try to summarize this. Now, that the kinetic molecular theory actually assumes the following. By summary, we will say that 1, that substances are made up of molecules which are what? Like hard, round balls. That secondly, that the molecules can actually move in straight lines, and that when they do so, they can even collide with each other and with the walls of the container in which they are enclosed. 3, that no energy is even lost during these collisions, and that there are usually forces of attraction between the molecules. 4, that the average kinetic energies of these molecules actually depend on the temperature of the substance. So, in the next few lessons, we shall be using these assumptions to explain why matter can exist as a solid, a liquid, or even as a gas. So, how about we start with solids in the next lesson and try to understand how this kinetic molecular theory will explain why they exist as solids. So, I will say, see you guys in the next lesson.